just going to hit this little her thing there. But you know, I'm really mostly, not that it's not amazing. I mean, oh my God, there's like 3 pages of stuff here. Very, very multifaceted gentleman, this guy. And so I would like to introduce you to George Roche, who at this time, anyway, is currently working on Canadian Rights Watch Movement, an organization that is out to help so many people and help to bring justice that we so incredibly need right now to the table. So welcome, George.
Thank
George,
you.
You're joining
Thanks
me from where? You're in the nice warm place, I think, warmer than we are here in Ontario.
Yeah, we're in Mexico.
Nice, nice, nice. One of the few places you can go that's still free to people, kind of.
Well, I've always said that people should live with less rules and more freedom.
I'm good with that too. Me too. So I sent a couple of questions along to you. You know, we can take this real casual if you'd like. It's kind of the thing I do. But I did have some questions about how you know, came to be doing what you're doing today, and not necessarily in Mexico, but definitely what you're doing for the Canadian people. So if you could just elaborate a little bit on that, and let us know what's going on with that. What do you got going on?
Well, I guess it's probably good to start back at the beginning, huh? You know,
Line.
I joined a corporation called the Line Canada, which we then registered was the Line International Civil Liberties Association. And for 47 weeks, I think we did protesting at Dundas Square with thousands of people. We closed down the Toronto streets with the assistance of 43, 52, and 53 Division. And it was quite a time. It was quite a time because we had a lot of people, you know, that were really interested in what was going on in the country. I think a lot of interest was piqued, you know, but there weren't enough of us. I think that a lot of us saw. Sorry, I'm getting a funky sound in my ears. I think a lot of us saw what was going on earlier on. Back in January of 2020, I had just been contracted to build the largest drum show the planet ever saw with a bunch of fanboys from a company called Overtime Angels out of Pennsylvania. And I was tasked with putting that show together. And after we put it together with an incredible bunch of people, I walked out to this the Rona thing. And then they shut the venue down after I think we sold probably 6,000 odd tickets or more around the planet for Neil Peart lovers from, you know, Canada's renowned rock band, progressive rock band, Rush. And it was an incredible time to put together a memorial for the professor, the guy that everybody loved and still loves in the drumming community and in the music community. So I was pretty honored to be able to do that as my outro. And after I saw the Rona, one of my colleagues called me up and said, "How long do you think this is going to last?" I said, "Well, how much time have you got left to live?" You know, because it's not, clearly this is not anything to do with the virus. There's another agenda going on here, but it looks like we're going to be distracted. And I even said to a guitar playing friend of mine from a band I was managing at the time, I said, you know, I smell bioweapon. So to see that word in all this media 2 years later, well, maybe even sooner, a year and a half later, more predominantly, that was quite refreshing. I knew at that point I wasn't nuts. So we did all this protesting, and I built a team of people out of it. And I said to my partners back then, we needed to uphold the rule of law, and I've maintained that stride from the moment I put my pen to the design paper, the logistics paper, the organic growth of an incredible team that we now rely upon under Canadian Rights Watch banner, who are doing significant work with our membership to address the needs that every citizen in the country seems to have.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. So, I mean, it's so necessary. There are so many people who are like, what are we going to do? How do we do anything? You know, like where do we go with this? And along comes George and his team and brings together an amazing opportunity for people to be a part of something that's going to bring about justice, as far as I can see. So tell us
Yeah.
about the lawsuit.
Well, I can't really say much about it yet because we're not launched, but we're heading for outer space. And we have a lot of people that have joined the Amalgamated Citizens Union with, great ties with an excellent body of people who want the justice you just spoke of. And we're hopefully going to get some people to sit up straight and listen to us. We've got a couple of very interesting lawyers who are already in the game that have met with our team and our vetting crew from Canadian Rights Watch. Those people behind the scenes are looking at the cases that we'll ultimately share and vote on with the membership of Canadian Rights Watch under the group called the Amalgamated Citizens Union.
Awesome. And is that open for anybody to join that union?
Absolutely. Well, every citizen right now in the country needs justice.
Absolutely.
No matter what language you speak, you need justice. Everybody's under attack. Of course, it's open. The gates are open for everybody. We do a lot of Zoom calls and educational stuff, although after Christmas it gets slowed down a little bit. But, we're going to be resuming a lot of these other Zoom calls. Tuesdays are usually the night that we reserve for Zoom calls at 7:30 p.m. So people can, they can email info@canadianrightswatch.com and register if they can get on the Zoom call. And we'll teach them about what we're doing. There's a contract that we review with them. They sign it. They're with us for 2 years to battle these dragons, slay these dragons, defend our rights, uphold the rule of law. We're not really doing anything overly complex. It's just we're doing it more deliberately with people who are actually in it to win it. They actually do care and they know the issues.
And that's important because there is there was another sort of venture that started, and I didn't really think it was going to go very far, and it seems to have hit a bit of a wall now anyway. But I mean, the fact of the matter is this whole thing's been illegal from the beginning to now and continues to be so. And everywhere we turn, there's more and more rights being infringed upon. And it took the truckers to finally get people to notice that there was something amiss here. And it was more than just what people were all up in arms about.
I think that they have, it's not more and more rights, I don't think. I think they've already infringed on every right we possibly have. I think they're just repeatedly doing it now. They're just going to continue as a way of conditioning, continue to push us with compliance and all kinds of neurolinguistic programming and coercion and using this theater in hospitals to kill people. This is what they're doing right now with these protocols, the COVID protocols. It's no longer, a cough. It's a COVID cough. It's no longer pneumonia. It's COVID pneumonia. It's a COVID hairdo. COVID shoes, COVID fart. I mean, they've branded everything COVID, right? So that nobody dies of anything else anymore. If you have a heart issue, well, it's from COVID. Don't you know this? So, I mean, it's gotten to be really crazy that all these other diseases that people are, what they call and what are comorbidities are no longer considered. You can go in with a bump in the head and wind up with COVID somehow. Then they'll call it severe COVID. Then they'll give you remdesivir, which I call remdisappear, because if you do remdesivir, you will be disappearing. So there's all this crap going on that people just don't know about. They're not suspecting. Our phones are crazy with people's, with people's concerns over their elderly loved ones or parents or sisters or whatever getting, inducted. I think it's an abduction, but inducted into the hospital. And they go through this process and everyone's going through it. It's the same procedure, the protocols that everybody's going through. And it's insane because it's all a paid for unfolding process from the PCR test right through to let's get you into the COVID room. And then we're probably going to have to intubate you. The nutrients unless somebody gets on the phone and makes sure the doctors are delivering the right nutrients, that's not happening. We're seeing a lot of dehydration. I mean, this is horrible stuff. This is horrible stuff. We have people losing their lives unnecessarily. I think I would agree with Dr. Peter McCullough when he says that 95% of the COVID deaths are murder. I agree.
Absolutely.
That's beyond
There's
any
been,
doubt.
I've noticed you've had some calls with Judy Mikovits, I believe it is, and anybody else you can mention there that would be certainly, um, incredibly important to this case, to this whole case of bullshit that's been pushed on everybody, for lack of a better way to put it. It's just the way it is. This remdesivir stuff, like I was just watching one with Brian Artis, and I mean, there's some nasty stuff in that stuff. Like, I mean, it's incredible. And yet here we are in Canada, very unsuspecting people, too bloody passive to, I always say the same thing. We, you step on our foot and we apologize because we put it there for you to step on. It's absolutely asinine. But here we are,
Well, yeah, it's been an ever unfolding process of discovery. There's a lot of experts. It's good to see them out now. I would have really liked to see a lot of the people that are out now have shown their faces maybe back in May of 2020. That would have been nice because then we would have put this out with a garden hose. People would have been more vigorously resistant to this invasion, right? This impedance that we were experiencing. I still stand firm. The moment we saw the mask go on the first child, the first right that was inhibited, right there, that draws a line in the sand. If they're doing it to one of us, they're doing it to all of us.
Absolutely.
So for people to stand idly by and think it can't happen to me, and boy, do our phones get crazy when that happens too. It's like this person who's been a spectator all along suddenly sees it at their front door. And I'll tell you, it's really true that people generally don't take action until it personally affects them or their family. Until then, they're watching it happen to everybody else. But the moment it hits that person's doorstep, that's when people start to see the gravity of what they're about to lose and the injuries that will be done to their neighbors, their friends, their families, and even themselves. Unsuspectingly, this is the problem. So people got to wake up and realize now this is the time to really get together and unite. We got to fight back. I believe our lawyer did say in one of my interviews with him that, this is the calm before the storm, the calm before the legal storm or something like that. I would agree. People are starting to get it. Hey, what happened? What did they do to us? What happened back there? I've lost my job. I gave up my job for this, So people are starting to come to and realize just how badly they've been affected by this, and the psychology of this war that people have generally not paid much attention to has become more on the forefront of people's minds. They're starting to feel PTSD and anxiety issues, panic disorders, sleeplessness, eating disorders, suicide, spousal abuse, addiction, all on the rise. That's a society under stress and living out trauma.
Absolutely. And those numbers are skyrocketed way up, way more than any other kind of number that's been thrown at people all the time. Like, it's ridiculous to think that you can go right on, like, for the longest time I was watching this, worldometer coronavirus thing, and I'm looking at it, and we haven't even hit like 35,000 in the whole time. And I'm like, people don't seem to register, right? Like, they completely are totally brainwashed with this whole thing. It's incredible.
And, we got to be careful, too, around that because, a lot of people are asleep. There's a lot of what, people call them sheep or whatever. We've got to really begin to focus, like get past the labeling and start focusing on why and repair, or at least help to repair some of the thinking these people have, because it's dangerous. It's no longer just, come on, you guys are sheeple and blah, blah, blah. No, hang on a sec. This is a serious issue. And we got to get real about it. We got to get human about it, and really, let the people that don't want to believe the science or believe the indisputable facts, let them continue to label and criticize and judge. The people that are amendable to these arguments or amendable to at least listen, let's start with them. They would be the low-hanging fruit for the cause. Let's get the people that were once totally, yeah, don't talk to me about this. I need my vax because I got to fly. Let's get the people that are going, you know what? I think I made a boo-boo.
Mm-hmm.
I think I made a mistake. I didn't realize A, B, C, and D, but now I do, and now I see E, D, G, and F coming my way. So, or F and G. It's important that people start to just kind of, say, wait a minute, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to have been fooled. I think somebody said it's easier to fool somebody than it is for them to admit they have been fooled. I get it. But we got to put the egos aside. Because if your life is on the line, you better know it. And if your life is on the line and you do know it, you better begin to do something about it. And if you're living in denial, you're not going to do anything. That's not useful. You're just contributing to your own further demise. So if there's people out there that are suffering, and we know that there are, we get tons of calls about people even 4, 5, 6 months later are starting to feel side effects that others in the same boat as them felt almost immediately. So everybody's different. Everybody responds metabolically in a different metabolic way to these jabs. And some people are worse than others. Some people have already advanced stages of other issues that increase the speed of their own demise. This is what we're trying to intercept as much as possible. And we need more people doing it.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. And that's,
yeah.
I mean, the alert came to some people, like a lot of my clients were, forced, as they would say, to do it because they had no one else to go to. They had nowhere else to go, whatever. And I understand that. But, you figure one, maybe two, but then they start talking about boosters and people are like, wait a minute. And I'm thinking, one of the first red flags would have been, well, how many boosters of your childhood vaccines did you have to have throughout your life? And if you didn't have to, that might be an issue for you to look at. I mean, there's clearly something not right with this one or with whatever's going down that they don't have a handle on it yet. Wait it out even. Wait it out.
Yeah. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know boo about this stuff, about this vaccine stuff. I really didn't. The past 2 years for me have been a learning curve like I've never known. With a G force, on the curve like you wouldn't believe. We found out about this because when my daughter was vaxxed, when she was born, I didn't know anything about aluminum. That infants cannot get the diseases that these vaccines are meant to prevent them from getting. I didn't know duck about that, And once I started delving into it, I started to realize there's a real problem here. And it didn't just start with the Rona, but the impetus of the Rona, that was the impetus for further deep dives. So I got to tell you, I'm with some of those. I'm with some of you people, your listeners. I didn't know. I had to go through a change too. I thought people were, a little off kilter too with this stuff, but they're not actually. I learned that they're not. These people that know this stuff and know what vaccine injured children are dealing with, they need to be listened to. We're talking about kids that are getting screwed right from go, and the kid can't say a word about it. Who's going to defend that kid's voice? If you're an unsuspecting parent, you're not going to be able to defend your child's voice, even if they're incommunicado. They cannot talk yet. They're infants. I feel so bad thinking that I know that my daughter was injured by a vaccine and she couldn't say anything to me. Nothing. That blows my mind. And so ever since that pain, I wanted to do everything I possibly could to know about these jabs. Yeah. And we're not stopping. I got a great team, but I've learned a lot from this. Listening to Dr. Sherry Tenpenny and Carrie Madej and Judy Mikovits and Dr. Mark McDonald and Monroe now and Peter McCullough and all these brilliant thinkers that people think they're going to debunk with the magical wave of a hand or a smear campaign or a fancy name like you're a conspiracy theorist. You drank the Kool-Aid. Let me tell you what Kool-Aid you're drinking if you got this jab and you don't know what's in it. Let me tell you that Kool-Aid.
Yep.
That's a horrible Kool-Aid. That's a bad mix.
It is a bad mix. my children, when I was young, and my oldest is 30, so I had him when I was 20. I didn't really know much. I was already in a kind of a volatile situation, and I didn't want public health to come and steal my child from me, so I had him vaxxed as minimal as possible. He's only, both my kids are only half vaxxed. That's why I call you half vaxxed. But my second came along, and when the high schools or when the grade schools started pushing this HPV vaccine, I was like, that's not right. Something's wrong there too. And then in high school they wanted to do this meningitis. I'm like, no friggin' way are you shoving that shit in my kid at all, period. So we got statement of conscious belief and we put it into the school. I'm like, leave my child alone. And if your vax works so goddamn well, you shouldn't be worried about my kid not being vaxxed if all of yours are protected, right? We're good there. But now it's like, oh my God, when you hear what's going on, and Judy talks about those things, Tenpenny as well. I mean, all of them. Karen Kingston talks about what's in. I mean, this is absolutely diabolical what they're doing, and we know there is much more going on behind the scenes and with the plan that's not being recognized by so many people. But people like you and I get in there and we're like, wait a minute, there's a deeper layer to this whole thing, and we've seen it, unfolding, but I didn't see it coming this way. I just didn't see it playing out this way until it started to hit. And I'm like, wait, something's not right here. So right from word go, like I remember sitting in my chiropractor's office looking at these TV, which just blows my mind that all these TVs are in these offices now, dentists and doctors and whatnot. And I looked at him, I said, something's amiss with this. Like, I don't really know what to say yet, but I can tell you there's something not right about this. We've been through so many other things before anyway, like what's going down? And then boom, when it really hit me, I was like, oh my Lord, we're in big trouble if people are not paying attention. And they weren't. They were very unsuspecting, very trusting of the wrong people, never trusting in themselves or their own instincts or intuition or any of that stuff. And quite honestly, that's what I make a living at. So to me, that seems rather absurd, right? Good vibes, bad vibes. People get that. Why aren't you paying attention to them, right? But they didn't. It was like fluoride in the water and chemtrails in the sky, and nobody pays attention to shit no more. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I love what you're doing. I absolutely love it. I have told everybody about your stuff. I've told everybody, you got to join this. You got to look at this. You got to go and see these people. Go talk to them. Go watch this video, because it's important for people to unite, just like you said, because nobody's coming to save us. We're here to save ourselves. Bottom line. And if we don't unite and get together, we're not going to have that front, right? We're not going to have it, but we are getting somewhere, and slowly but surely, even here in Canada, they're waking up, right? I see more and more people walking around with their faces naked, and I'm like, I love your smile. It's fabulous. Missed it, but there it is, and me, I wouldn't give into that crap. And I wasn't. And it's caused a lot of separation in families and division, which is of course the intention, part of the intention. And it's unfortunate, but those purebloods who are left on the planet, and the homegrowners and all the wonderfully non-GMO organics that are still left, we're making a stand, and we're taking a stand. And those who really need us now, that have, like you said, realized maybe I made a mistake here, or I made a boo-boo in a big way. They're even waking up slowly, like you said. My concern is the kids. They're still pushing these damn things on these children. And I'm like, all this stuff, the Pfizer documents and all this crap, where are people? Like, what are you not thinking about here? Clearly, they're just not thinking. What say you to that? Right? Like, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things going on there. There's people that don't know what to think, and then there's people that don't want to think about it. Because when you're scared to death, it's hard to delve into subject matter that can only increase your fears and therefore your discomfort. So we said, that's why I said before, denial is not a river in Egypt. You've got to break through these denials and these minimizations, because you could be bringing about the very results rather, that your denials were intended to prevent. So that's not a good position to have your mind in. That state of mind is very important. And I think that people have to make that shift. They also need to surround themselves with people who will encourage them to do that. When people's brains are getting battered at work or at home or with friends or family or whoever, with what are you talking about? Where do you get that idea from? Who do you think you are? That's all BS and blah, blah, blah. When people are dropping dead from these facts and this person is diminishing the other person, people start to feel like they can't have a voice. They can't say anything. I mean, to be free with your speech, you don't know what you've lost until it's gone. The moment you feel as though you can't speak your mind, that you have to think about what comes out of your mouth before you say it in order for it to be acceptable, is a pretty scary position to assume. Least you put your life in harm's way just from what you've said. And that's where this is going, right? So
It is. Look at the
we have to
bills they're
fight
trying
back.
to. Yeah, and we do, and that's the thing. I kind of think that.
Bill
I mean,
100's coming in.
what's that?
Bill 100.
Yeah, these bills, right? What is it? 233 is another one, and all of this stuff. Like, people. There's like only what, less than 600 politicians running this country here in Canada, and I think to myself, if we just all stood up, right, and said, "Wait a minute." Wait a minute, something's not quite here, not quite right here. We need to do something. I think, in a sense, like on the polar side of it all, I kind of think that maybe that's the kind of the divine intervention we needed, right? To wake people up and sort of say, hey, you got to come back to your sovereignty here. You're not, you're not, you're not meant to be governed in the mind. You're not meant. This is truly that. It's a mind, body, and a spirit war, right? It's literally an attack on every part of that. Again, I think that it's sort of, in a sense, partly a hot mess that's meant to push people to this waking and breaking point in a way. There's just some amazing people stepping up and speaking out for the first time ever. And I love the people that have already been doing so, for like yourself, for like a couple of years now, and tirelessly too. I mean, I can just imagine how exhausted you are after everything. And yet here you go, you're still making time for people like me who really aren't even professionally doing this stuff yet or anything, but I just wanted to get
Listen,
people.
I wouldn't be able to do a darn thing without the kind of network and people we have, again, behind the scenes. Now, American Rights Watch is slowly coming together. But yeah, it's been a lot of work, but I don't feel stressed out at all. I really don't. I think if I were in Canada, I would have a difficult time doing what I do for people. I think I've realized that now. I think a lot of people have realized that we would not be able to do some of what we do. After you put your neck out there, you become a target of these morons. Look at what they've tried to do to Chris Sky. No, I get that he doesn't say everything probably the way it should be said, but what he says most of the time is accurate and correct. It's just the way that he does it is what they're at odds with, and that's what causes him to be attacked sometimes. But he knows it better than these idiots that are jumping all over him, and so do we. And people, we've said before that the people who hate you the most for telling the truth are the people living the lie. So, I think when people are not living true to themselves, yeah, stress goes up. You got to keep it real or there's no deal. And you got to know who you are. I mean, if you're going to help people empower them, you've got to know how to empower yourself. So I think that's a large reason why I'm in the chair. I know how to do that. But the biggest reason is because I'm a dad, I'm a father. And I think anybody with children has a fiduciary responsibility to keep the country, at least try to leave it in better shape than when you came into it with, if not at least par. And I guess these days par would be good. If we can just go back to what it was a couple of years ago, I don't think we should. But I think people would prefer that than what they have today. And if this is going to be made better, then that will be people powered just as well. We're a people powered organization. No people, no power.
That's right. We the people, man. That's it. That's that. And that's, originally what the whole thing was supposed to be about. Government in particular was supposed to be about the voice of the people. And it went a whole different direction, right? We got these people in power who are not really interested in what people have to say.
When you have people who are scared to death, like literally scared to death, they're not really going to be in the kind of condition we would like to see people in, required to take action. So part of the work we do is making sure we can at least help people with their thinking and their emotions. We have a wellness team. For those of you, if you're experiencing the anxiety and the panic and the PTSD or anything like that, you can email wellness@canadianrightswatch.com and you can get some help.
Yeah. And
Become a
actually,
member. It's
yeah.
cheaper to become a member. What we're offering for the year in services, you won't be able to get anywhere. We're just a big, gigantic coupon book,
I love that.
right?
Actually, yeah, I volunteered my own services in there as well for those that have been struggling and whatnot. And I've already had people reaching out to me from that wellness space, looking for assistance in whatever way I can help them find it, whether it's spiritually and that's, you know, because that's the kind of capacity I work from. But, you know, PTSD, you mentioned, that's going to be huge. That's going to be the biggest probably epidemic, pandemic we'll see, you know, hit this planet when people do finally wake up from that, you know, through that cognitive dissonance and aware into a place of awareness where they're like, holy crap, like, oh my God, right? Because it's not even just those who've experienced stuff firsthand, it's those who, like you said, are just coming into this now. And, you know,
It's
programming, brainwashing.
well, yeah, it's cognitive closure.
That's what we're looking for.
That's what it starts out with.
Yeah.
And then you have cognitive dissonance. It should come as no surprise, but it does come as a surprise because a person is not prepared for what's coming because they haven't been open to understanding what's coming. So, depression, and I mean, depression is actually not a very unhealthy state. It's actually quite healthy if the person receives the necessary information because what depression is really saying to the depressive is things can no longer be the way they have been. That change is required. So when you interrupt the normal healthy process of depression, you're obstructing it. That's when things get even weirder and more difficult to cope with. So, and look at what we've just gone through now. 2 years. We could have put this out with a garden hose and people listened in the beginning. But they wanted to wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. That's problematic because problems that are unaddressed don't get better without the attention they deserve to be removed from one's life. They get worse. So every citizen has a responsibility to pull themselves out of that direction and unite with the people who understand the direction to go in. And we're not the only ones. There's lots of people out there doing work like this. I mean, I would certainly be accurate in saying we were one of the first. However, it's nice to see that everybody else has found the wherewithal to join us and the others in this legitimate. You know, we want to do valid work. It's got to be the right services, the right needs that people need to have met right now. And a lot of those are legal and psychological, familial, relocation, the concern for one's health. Can we help them with the detox? Absolutely. Do we have therapists? Absolutely. We've got the toolbox. And when people realize what's in it, they want to get involved because they realize that their families and their kids do need it. This work's not for everybody. I had no designs about being in this chair, but I saw from earlier on that the bottom of the bag of the entertainment industry fell out all of a sudden. It was because of a virus. I've never seen that before. That's a
SARS.
totally. Well, with SARS, we were doing concerts. We weren't saying don't play music or stand apart from me. That was ridiculous. So they've just, they went, whoops. Oh, wait a minute. We can't do it like SARS, guys. No more SARS plans. COVID's going to be different this time, you see? So very interesting how people went for that. But hey, we're Canadians, right? We haven't been in a war before. This era's not been in a war. So when people start telling you that you're selfish for wanting to uphold your rights, they're basically telling you that the virus matters more than your human rights and freedoms. To be conditioned to believe that is absurd. And this is why, when I interviewed Mark McDonald a while back, he called it mass delusional psychosis. Now, of course, Malone came in, or was it? Yeah, it was Malone, I think, and he called it mass formation psychosis, or then maybe that was Peter McCullough. Anyways, they're all saying the same stuff.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's true because these people will look at you with their eyes open, and what they're telling you about their beliefs of the jab or the masks, you know, is that's the gospel. These things work. And I mean, yeah, I mean it is delusion, but if you ask them to provide you with science or anything, you're going to get a smear or a character assassination statement or something, whatever. When people don't have the true goods, that's what they'll have to resort to because you've now exposed their ignorance. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
next
And
question.
that's yeah. Like, I mean, it's really quite astounding to me the amount of time it's taken for a lot of people to really kind of recognize, I mean, I still see people here in Ontario. They just lifted the mask mandates a couple of weeks back there, and dictator Dougie thought he was doing everybody a favor, and here are these people still driving around with these masks on in their car by themselves, and they're out in the stores and they're still keeping their distance, and yet so many others have taken them off. And I used to sit there and watch as people would come out of the store, and the first thing they do is rip it off, where they pull it out of their pocket to put it on. And I'm like, first of all, if this was such a biohazard, where are the bins? Where are our yellow bins with the little funky symbols on them? Like, what the hell? Why is it okay that you just have to cover your face with something, right? Anything at all, as long as you cover your face. Well, to me, God only gave me 3 holes to breathe through. And if you think I'm covering them up for you, you're crazy. Okay. You're the crazy
Mm-hmm.
one, not me. And that was the bottom line. But I was like, they're so compliant. They just pulling them off and putting them on and walking away. They're not worried about a virus. They're worried about the government. They're worried about the cops. They're worried about this. And I'm like, wait a minute, look up your laws. We have constitutional rights here. We have like all of this stuff available, and people they're just not willing. They're willing to trust somebody who, up until COVID, everybody was like the government this, the government that. And yet all of a sudden the government was everything. And our military list literally came out and said, well, we thought that in March and April of 2020 would be a good time to try some propaganda on the Canadian people. I'm like, and clearly they didn't even get that idea going. I'm like, what is wrong with my fellow Canadians here? So I started going to rallies. I started doing, my thing. I put my flags up even higher, and I put a couple of colorful ones up. At one point, I had them all upside down in the front yard flower bed. And my kid's like, Mom, nobody gets what that is. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll make them look it up because it means something. It means this country's in distress. Somebody's got to, see this. It was crazy. 2 years, George, of all of this. And we're just like, I mean, I know that I've got people even here in this moment where, they had to walk away from employment and things. I've got clients who took it because they were scared of leaving or losing that. And I just feel for everybody. And I just want everybody to be better and to go back to, a place of well-being, but not in the world we lived in, because clearly that was just not working anyway. And maybe this is just all a wonderful opportunity for us to make that shift, right? Make the shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm good for it. I'm really ready for it, and I'll help anybody and everybody who's willing to be there with me. Because this is the deal.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody needs support. I've only got a few minutes left here. I got to get going soon. So, did you have anything else that you want to ask, or?
No, just tell us where we can get a hold of you and your wonderful team, and what kinds of things you think might unfold in the next couple of months here in Canada. I mean, you're not here. I don't know if you're coming back or not. So many people have left this country and they're not even coming back. And I don't really blame them.
Well, we've got, like I say, we've got American Rights Watch that is going to be released or opening up in the U.S. here shortly. We're just dealing with some legal logistics and things like that, taxes and blah blah blah, all the paper trail logistical stuff that you have to do. The way I see it is we're going to see a lot more cracks in the armor of these oligarchs. I mean, they're not winning right now. We're dealing with a wounded animal, and people need to realize and own their power right now and really get on board. Like when you have momentum going uphill, the more people that get behind you, the quicker you can get up that hill. And we need to hit the apex on this real soon. I think that Trudeau has limited time left in office. I think he's really caused himself a lot of issues. It's embarrassing what he's done. The belief in this China's dictatorship and the belief in the social credit score as an economic development plan. What hubris. What absolute foolishness. So, yeah, I see things are going to be very interesting in the next little while, and a plethora of legal action as citizens start to realize they're owed their due. Justice is long overdue, and these employers need to wake up and realize that they've crossed the line and the government's led them to believe it, but they're not going to be rescued by any government. Don't violate human rights and the charter and then expect to be rescued from it if you don't have evidence for why you should be doing that. We have evidence for why you shouldn't be doing that. These people don't have evidence for why they should be doing that. So it's a very concerning time. But I do believe that we're winning, and we have to continue to keep the truth pounding out there and unite as much as possible. We're putting together a chapter in Manitoba right now, and I'm looking forward to that. So, and we're going to do this in the States. We'll license chapters all across so we can continue to get people on board to help us to help other people and also help them to help themselves. There's no group of people could ever do this on the scale that we're doing it all by themselves. You need a great team and a great network. You need people that truly and actually care. They mean what they say, they do what they say, and they say what they mean. And they deliver. And that's, to me, the very, very important thing. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, George. I absolutely appreciate you taking the time with me. I'm sorry for the confusion earlier. But yeah, and I'll be seeing you again because I'm on the Zoom calls every once in a while, and I'm definitely a part of that movement with you. We the people are the ones going to take this right to the limit. And that's okay. That's what it's for, right? That's what we're for, and that's what it's all about.
Well,
God
I
bless you.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, Brenda. Your audience, if you guys want to get us, you can get us at CRW_Rights Media on Twitter, Facebook, Canadian Rights Watch. Also, Black and White Listed Businesses Canada on Facebook or on Instagram and Telegram, Canadian Rights Watch. Yeah. And
Telegram's the way
American
to
Rights
go.
Watch is on there too, by the way. So if you want to go there.
You guys teamed up with those lawyers down there, did you?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks again, George.
It's going to be very interesting. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for having me, Brenda. I appreciate it.
Fellow Thornhillian, gotta stick together.
Take care.
God bless. We'll talk soon. Bye now. Bye.